They live, we sleep. This is All Films Worth Watching. Welcome back to the monthly podcast where your co-hosts, me, myself, and Jeff Young, we watch films and then we tell you, if they're pretty good or not. Spoilers. That was a pretty good one, at least my humble opinion. My name is Thomas, the host, again, co-host of All Films Worth Watching. I do some theatrical sound design. I do some voiceover every now and then. I whistle. I've recorded whistling for hire a few times.
You are a terrific whistler.
Oh, well, thank you, buddy. You melt my heart. And we have with us Jeff, book talk, metal man, all-around Renaissance fellow. And he and I today, we were watching, what did we watch today? The 1988 American science fiction action horror film, They Live, a John Carpenter classic. This was one that I had seen before and had suggested for Jeff, because if you've listened to the podcast, you know that we, in previous episodes, watched In the Mouth of Madness, which is one of Carpenter's more obscure works, having realized that Jeff hadn't maybe seen all of the best and brightest of John Carpenter's filmography. And that brings us around to today. But before we jump into that, Jeff, you just got back this week from a big long tour with your black metal band, Wield and Woe. How did that go? How was the road? Did you eat anything particularly tasty? Did you eat anything particularly gross?
It was good. Did I eat anything particularly tasty?
Yeah, like top tier, like anything worth,
No,
sharing with the world.
There isn't time to go to nice restaurants or drink nice beer. It's pretty much driving, sleeping, or playing. So I ate a lot of Maverick gas station burritos and Lifesavers gummies and copious amounts of Rockstar energy drink and Monster's Mean Bean coffee. The worst thing I ate was I went to Waffle House at midnight or 1 a.m. in Denver, and that was regrettable. Fun social experience, but the food's not much better than chicken feed.
Yeah. Nice. Well, Maverick picks are good. It's good to be able to know what you can pick up on the road. What was the coffee, the Monster coffee that you drink? Something 3-bean, mean bean.
Mean bean.
The meanest of the beanest. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. That's the one I like. I also like Loco Mocha, but they don't have that one as much.
Nice. Loco Mocha. They have such great coffee names for being Monster Energy drink. I thought they'd be more like, Satan's entrails or whatever.
No, there's a Irish cream one. That's okay. And then they have a salted caramel, but I think they're just called Irish cream and salted caramel.
Yeah, man. I just wish they had that early 2000s hardcore energy, I miss it. Not really. It's infected everything. Our grandpas figured out how to weaponize it, and now we're screwed.
Do you remember that energy drink called Whoop Ass?
Whoop Ass?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the slogan was open a can of Whoop Ass.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. No, my energy drink effective level, how effective they are, is way too dangerous for me to do, especially when I was, young and drinking things like Whoop Ass or, dumbass milkshake or whatever, it was just too much. I'd end up tweaking on half a can. So I never really explored any of that stuff. I've had Surge maybe once in my life,
I love Surge. And that's just a Mountain Dew knockoff.
Yeah, that was too much for me at the time. Now, my veins are sludge, so who knows? Maybe I'll check some out. It's out of commission, right? It's not something I can go down to the store.
Whoop Ass was a 2006 thing, 2006, 2007, long ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, I'll go to my local store and demand it anyway and see what happens.
Bring this back.
Tell your AI robots I need some Whoop Ass, and I'm not leaving. I've come here to chew bubble gum and whoop ass.
God.
And I'm okay. So we've talked about it before on the podcast, but Jeff, you haven't seen a ton of John Carpenter film. I mean, you've seen the big ones, with the exception of Halloween, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to talk a little bit again about your experience, your relationship to John Carpenter?
Yeah, so I'm obviously familiar with the Halloween movies. I've never seen any of them. I've seen and adore The Thing, and I had seen Escape from New York, which I really liked. And then we saw In the Mouth of Madness, which I also really liked. And then you were aghast that I had not seen They Live. So we watched They Live.
Yeah. There's just a couple. I just felt bad that I was like showing you In the Mouth of Madness, which is like one of his weirder ones that nobody ever like talks about. That like film dorks are like, actually, it's a pretty great movie. You know what I mean? But like, if you're missing They Live, like that's like, to me, it's like the other side. It's like The Thing and They Live are like the two sides of John Carpenter to me in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, my relation, I mean, still playing in the same genres, but the stuff that works from them are just pretty cool. I didn't see any John Carpenter films when I was a kid. I didn't watch any horror movies when I was a kid. I was one of those kids that like would get what am I trying to say?
Scared?
Yeah. Yeah, me get scared. Me have no fun. Me bad time. But yeah, no, I would get scared of things and like stay scared of things. Like one time when I was in the 5th or 6th grade, I had my cousin sneak me and some friends, not sneak us, but he was over 18. He bought the tickets to take us to, oh God, what was that movie called? Hannibal, just Hannibal, the sequel, the sort of more of an action thriller sequel than I guess the first one. I never watched I never seen the first one, and I only got like maybe 10 minutes into that one. There's some like security camera footage of him biting somebody's face off or biting for somebody's face, and that freaked me out so much that I like turned to my older cousin and demanded he take me home. And so he took me home and like hung out with me, and then went back and like got my friends later. And like later at school, I heard them making fun of me behind my back for being such a wiener. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I didn't watch any John Carpenter movies. I didn't watch many horror movies. And one of my first horror movies that I ever watched was Halloween. And it was a nice experience for me because I watched it at, I might have been like 15 or maybe 14, maybe 16, somewhere in there, the 14 to 16 zone. And I watched it alone in my bedroom late at night. And it was creepy, but it wasn't scary. And I was like, oh, not all of these movies are like absolutely trying to like frighten you to the heart of your soul. You know, like some of them are just kind of like a creepy suspense piece. And it was the fact that it wasn't super scary was like a benefit to me, you know? And so that started my relationship with John Carpenter. And through the years, I'd seen most of them. And then a few years ago, this podcast I listened to called Blank Check goes through directors' filmographies, and they went through John Carpenter's, and so I've seen most of them now, following along with them. And on top of that, they have a Carpenter Fest at our local indie theater here in Kansas City, Screenland Armor. They do this thing called Carpenter Fest, I think every year, where they have like an all day long John Carpenter film festival, and it always ends with They Live, but the first two films are different. So the year we went, we didn't see all of them, but they were The Fog, Christine, and They Live. And I think we got to see Christine and They Live. And we missed The Fog. But anyway, so it's, I don't know, they're kind of fun, big, bombastic movies that have a pretty fun following. And so it's a nice way to like build a little community, you know? Like you can look to see a John Carpenter film playing. You're going to draw a crowd. Jeff, what did you think of They Live?
I get no joy from this, but I did not like this movie at all.
Oh no, the nightmare!
Like, yeah, I was like, man, Tom really likes this movie, and the whole time I was like, how much longer is this movie? And it's not even long; it's like 90 minutes. But I did not care for this movie pretty much at all.
Damn, dude, I just don't get you. I'm trying over here, bending over backwards to try and get you, and I don't.
I could see why you'd think I would like this movie. Like aesthetically, I really liked it. Just like that time period and the cinematography and the way it's shot. Like I like the way this movie looks. I loved the soundtrack. Like I think John Carpenter's music kicks ass. And Keith David. Love Keith David.
Yeah.
Nothing else in this movie did anything for me. Like I would rather pinch myself than look at Rowdy Roddy Piper try to act anymore. That I was like, he's gonna burst a brain cell if he has to think about what line he has to say next. Just awful. I'm not gonna drag the man through the mud on this podcast, but this movie was not it.
Fair enough. What did I write down? I wrote down something mean. I was like, he's kind of like Kurt Russell beef jerkified.
Yeah, exactly. Same haircut, half as much charisma, and half as generous.
But I get. Oh, okay, fair enough. I mean, in my humble opinion, I think that works in his favor. As you're watching this movie, is like deciding who he is as a person. But I get it. If it doesn't work for you, it's if it doesn't work for you today, it's not going to work for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, that is good to know. Yeah, I gotta.
Podcast over. Jeff hated the movie.
Yeah, done. Good, done. No, well, I mean, it might not be over, but it might be a shorter one. I think that it would be interesting, Jeff. I don't know if you've already picked something for what we're going to watch next, go ahead and go with that. But if you haven't, something that might be interesting in doing is just like
make me watch another John Carpenter movie.
Yeah, no. If you instead of me trying to guess your aesthetics, if you shared your aesthetics, you know what I mean? I assumed that if you had seen this movie at the right age, you would have like fallen in love with this movie. You know what I mean? Like there are those movies for us.
Yeah.
I was, and I was like, if I had to guess, I think like this one lines up with so many of Jeff's things that I think it would like find a soft spot for it.
I think
but everybody has those movies.
I think if this movie was better, it would have. I was very bored. For one, it took us 30 minutes. 30 minutes of a 90-minute movie to find out that they're bug people. That's way too long. Like there's so much time of him being shirtless, like hitting shit with a hammer, like looking for a job, being a friend with Keith David. I was like, what is the point? Like, when are we going to get into something in this movie? And then there's like a 15-minute fist fight between him and Keith David. And I was like, they're friends. What are we doing? Like it just, I think it could have been. Like, I think if it just, I don't know, maybe was more focused or took itself more seriously. I don't know. Maybe it taking itself seriously was the problem. I don't know. It just like was slightly off the mark. But I could see why it's like so close. Like, you're not wrong for thinking I would have liked this movie. I just didn't.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, it's an interesting read to call those things. I mean, the fight definitely is like absurdly expanded.
It's so
and part
long.
of it is like, I mean, they talk about it in the like featurettes and discographies, and not discographies. Sorry, the like commentaries and stuff. But John Carpenter like wrote on like 5 pages essentially in the script. He was like, they fight. They continue to fight, and like didn't write anything else. And like part of it is definitely like knowing that he had Roddy Piper and Keith David, 2 people that could like perform that too. But yeah, I mean, like those first 30 minutes, like it is definitely a slow burn. To me, I don't know, they're just like a really nice commentary on the working poor, especially during Reaganomics, but in a way that, like, as somebody who's pretty close to the poverty line himself these days, it still connects with it resonates with me. You know what I mean? Like before we're building to bug people, which is like why I think that fight is so interesting in that context. But like, I think you have to take it in that context because that fight going on so long, because they should be best friends. But the fact that, I mean, we'll talk about this as we go through the plot, but the fact that they're, one of them is like trying to like reveal the truth to the other one, and it's so inconvenient because of the context put in by like the alien oppressors or whatever, that instead of like, even considering it, they have a full-on like beat each other bloody fist fight. You know what I mean? You watch like the working class tear themselves apart instead of just like doing the thing.
Sure.
Now that's me working, and that's me taking a walk a little farther along than I'm like meeting the film, a a little bit more than halfway.
Yeah.
Like I'm like I know it doesn't do all of that like outright. Like I said, part of it is like we've got a professional wrestler where Roddy Piper, so we're just gonna like watch him get beat up because that's part of what we're investing in like production value. You know what I mean? So there is that aspect of it that's like making that obsessive. But to me, that undercurrent to the whole thing is what makes it, is what elevates it, you know?
Sure. Yeah, and I guess I wasn't keeping that in the forefront of my mind as we were going through it. I did pick up on the Reaganomics thing a little bit, specifically because there's a shot of Roddy Piper like talking to, I think it's Keith David, and they're looking at like the LA skyline, and Keith David's like, man, nobody gets a fair shake. And Roddy Piper's like, nah, man, I believe in America. Everybody gets their chance. And I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh.
He's like, he's just waiting for his good time to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. And I'm watching it this time. There was a lot of it that ran a little silly. We'll talk about it as we go through the plot, which we are about to do, thanks in part to our lovely sponsors at Wikipedia. Jeff, I had one more idea that I wanted to run by you, that I thought would be a fun addition to the podcast.
Sure.
Feel free to tell me this is stupid, but I thought it would be funny if we started to put together a list of films worth watching do's and don'ts, like based on the conversations that we're having during this. So we're going to talk about this movie, and at the end of it, maybe you could tell me, or if it comes to you during it, where you're like, all right, all films worth watching, they should never feature professional wrestlers speaking this much. Like maybe that's the rule.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or all films worth watching should, try to say something about the working class. It might be an example. Like, okay. I'm not, holding myself to any of these.
Yeah.
And then my thought is if we do this and if we do it enough times, just by necessary subtraction, we're going to stumble across the perfect film plot for you and I.
Sure.
And then we'll have like our film that we need to create. And, the podcast will become a film. It'll move into its final form.
Sold.
The film that it always needed to be. Sick. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Feel free to put any laws down. Feel free to put any laws down, and excuse my mumble mouth today. Let's start with the plot. Nada, who is a homeless man played by Roddy Piper, which, by the way, I know that we're just jumping into it, but I watched like half of the commentary of the movie. I watched the movie all the way through, and then I watched it half of the commentary because I bought it on Blu-ray. And Roddy and John Carpenter are the two voices, and it's so funny in like a real kind of a like Office cringe comedy sort of a way to listen to like professional wrestlers ramble, give that sort of like CTE thoughts on like the process and their memories. It was pretty interesting. Like there was a moment where he's talking about, I think what he was trying to say was that the symbolism of the movie is real and strong today, but what it made it sound like was that the movie was factual, was like based on aliens. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Where you're like, I think if you do him a kindness by being like, well, he's trying to say that this is like, that this power structure is still enabled today. But what he's actually saying is, yeah, this is based on a true story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe worth checking out the first 5-10 minutes of sometime if you have an extra moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nada, a homeless man played by Roddy Piper. He comes to L.A., California in pursuit of a job, where he spots a preacher warning that they have recruited the rich and powerful to control humanity. And I can't remember the name of that actor.
Raymond St. Jacques or something.
Yeah. He's been since deceased. I thought he did a great job. Again, Carpenter's stuff is like, it's silly, and I just love when somebody can sell it, and he did a great job in my opinion. Anyway, he was warning that they have recruited the rich and powerful to control humanity. That preacher was warning. He finds employment at a construction, this being Nada, Roddy Piper, which I don't ever think they call him Nada in the movie, so I'm probably just going to call him Roddy.
Yeah.
That's that thing where like,
he's every man.
It becomes zero.
Yeah,
exactly. John Goodman, exactly. I know that was...
This movie would have been way better if John Goodman was in it. Now that you said John Goodman, man. That would have made this movie so much better.
I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of ass. Okay, anyway, Sorry, I'm spoiling this. I mean, granted, you should have already seen the movie if you're listening to us babble about it.
It's 37 years old, guys.
Yeah, back off. Back off, fictional people I just made up right now. Roddy finds employment at a construction site and befriends his coworker Frank, who invites him to live in a shanty town near a church where he meets their community leader Gilbert. A hacker takes over TV broadcasts, alerting that humanity is their cattle, and the only way to unfold the truth is to shut off the signal at its source. Those watching the broadcast complain of headaches. And we're watching this from like a TV they have set up in the shanty town. Like basically we're watching Roddy Piper move into town and like try to function as a homeless person with like no employment and no connections, you know? And he immediately gets a job at a construction site. He gets a job at a construction site, I would say, faster than your average person in that situation would get a job, in my humble opinion. And this other guy, Frank, is like working there and has been working there for a while, but still can't like afford to not live in this homeless encampment. And so you're kind of introduced to two different versions of sort of the same, working man iconography or character, Roddy, he follows Gilbert and the preacher into the church, discovering a recording of gospel music playing that, unbeknownst to Roddy, obscures a meeting with a group, including the hacker. Nada then uncovers equipment and boxes inside, but escapes when he bumps into the preacher. The shantytown and church then are like destroyed in like perfect movie timing. They're destroyed by a police raid. The pigs show up and destroy the entire shantytown and the church. The hacker and the preacher are brutalized by law officers. And that was the one to watch this time when I was like that's not quite working for me, watching them get their butts whooped by the cops.
Yeah, that part sucked. And also throughout this entire like helicopter, SWAT bulldozer police raid, Roddy Piper is just walking. He's just walking through this police raid like, oh, I'm using all 6 of my brain cells to observe what's happening around me. Like no urgency, no whatever. He's just walking and observing. Like it's happening around him, but not also to him. And I was like, what the hell are we doing?
He's Keanu Reeves in it, man. He's neutral. He's the cipher for you, bro.
Crushing it.
Yeah. Maybe he's doing too great of a job, you're saying. Yeah, I feel you. Fair enough. I thought one of the things that I thought was really cool in this is like he walks by the church and they have this establishing shot with all the covered windows. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird for a church. I mean, usually they have like stained glass that you can see inside. That's interesting. But then by the time that they got done with the raid, like he walks by them again and all of the windows are busted out. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was like a nice quick way of like showing sort of the absolute destruction that the police came and like loaded in. Mm-hmm. Right. And we're obviously left to think that the destruction has something to do with this meeting that was going on in the church. Mm-hmm. Roddy retrieves one of the boxes from the church, which he takes a pair of sunglasses from. He puts the rest of the box with the glasses. There are a bunch of glasses in there. He takes them and puts them into a trash pile. He finds out that they make the world appear monochrome and reveal subliminal messages in the media to consume and conform. They also disclose that many people are ghoulish, bug-eyed aliens hiding under human facades. Additionally, the creatures have wristwatch communicators that allow them to teleport, along with surveillance drones. When aliens at the supermarket realize that Roddy can see them, he is confronted by 2 alien police officers. He kills them, steals their gun, jumps into a bank where he sees that multiple employees and customers are aliens. He kills several and escapes by taking a human, Holly Thompson, hostage. He attempts to persuade her to put on the glasses, but she throws him out of a window.
Yeah, that happens.
All right, so what do you think of like the opening, the opening glasses on and off sequence, man? The advertisements, and then you put them back on, and it's obey.
Yeah, and it was like, what was it? Marry and reproduce, and just like that. That was just a little ham-fisted for me. It just was a little too simple of like. I don't know. I see the point, and I think maybe if this was like a satire, then I'd be like, okay. But it just, I don't know. It was a little too like on the nose for me. But I guess it was 88. So whatever. John Carpenter, you get a pass. Yeah, I thought that
John Carpenter, you you get 18 passes to Disney World from me, just so you know, if you're watching.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't
don't
think it
listen
was,
to him.
I don't think it was super clever, but I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, like in everything there's a message. So it'd take like text on a poster and then turn it into 2 words. It's like, oh, okay. Like, if the aliens control us, do they have to put subliminal messaging and stuff? But like, whatever. Like, I get it. It's establishing the control. That part was
for sure.
less irksome to me than the rest of everything you just said.
And they don't control us like puppets or anything like that, but they do, like, you know, are able to influence our society essentially through, you know, through advertising and TV and things like that. Let me see what else. Yeah. He kills some cops. He kills some alien cops. He kills some people at a bank.
Oh, there's that bit
It's
at
all
the
kind of
supermarket where he just like unloads on this old lady who is a bug person. But it just is like such a complete 180 of character where he's like a nice guy. And, you know, I believe in America and I'm going to get my chances. And I'm just going to bumble along until, you know, fortune falls in my lap. And then he just starts like goes off on this lady at the grocery store.
Yeah, bro, because he's been lied to by the man. He's starting his punk rock band. He's starting his late 80s punk rock lifestyle by beating up an old alien lady.
He's doing great. I think at this point, we're on like the second or third time he has stumbled over something backwards. So like in the church, the first way that he even finds out that like the gospel music is a lie is he like trips backwards over something, and of course in classic 80 movies fashion he lands on like a false wall and knocks it loose.
Yeah.
And then again in the grocery store he like trips over I think a case of something and falls backwards. And this I don't know why that irritated me, but I was like, does this man not ever pay attention to what he's doing? But that happens to him multiple times in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Roddy on the commentary talks a little bit about how like he's done a bunch of movies, but this is the one he feels like. Are you flossing right now?
Oh,
I
was
taking a moment while I was talking to floss.
No, I was fidgeting with it, and I moved it to watch.
I was really hoping you were going to be like, "Oh, go ahead, continue," and start working your teeth.
Absolutely not. I'm just
just like utter disrespect for Carpenter. But anyway, just saying that he felt that this was the best performance he ever gave on film, and was like, "You worked really hard with me to get there." You know what I mean? So like, I get what you're saying, that maybe it's, you know, that you're working with some of Roddy's strong suits, which are being confused and stumbling into things and walking around, you know. But yeah, I can definitely, you know, see that. You know what I mean? He doesn't have maybe rock sensibilities. But I mean, I also kind of like that. To me, like the fact that he's like a beef, I mentioned this earlier, this beef jerkified Kurt Russell thing is like, you know, if he was Kurt Russell, he'd be in LA and be famous and like farting around. But since he's not, since he's, you know, doesn't quite cut the mustard, he has to like wander into this town with a knapsack on his back. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't like quite cut the mustard. And that's what I kind of like about this movie. It's sort of like, I don't know. It's the movie is rough around the edges because it's made on a budget, and it's also rough around the edges because it's about people that are rough around the edges because they're living on the outskirts of society. Sure. You know. Yeah. That being said, oh yeah, and I love it's like I love when he gets thrown out of that window.
It's like a 2 or 3 story window, and he's like fine. He's just okay.
He's super buff, man. No, yeah, I get you. But I thought it was cute because it was like, for a moment you think he's going to like have like a romantic moment and finally convince her to get it. And she like subverts it by like knocking him out the window. It's great. Yeah. And then he hides like under the structure that's like propping up her house on the hill that it's sitting on, which I thought was interesting. It's like not a side of Hollywood you see. It's like you're hanging out under BoJack Horseman's pool, if you get that reference, you know? I just thought that was an interesting place for him to hide out, and it's like not something that I can't think of another thing I've ever seen shot in a place like that. Anything else before we move on from him being knocked out of the window and hiding? No? Cool?
No,
Perfect?
I don't think so.
While Roddy retrieves another pair of glasses from the trash pile, Frank comes to give him his final paycheck and orders him to stay away following Nada's killing spree, becoming widespread news. And he pairs it from a trash pile, but he falls out of the trash. So the guy's crazy. He's murdered people, and he's like carrying around sunglasses that he's like pulled out of the trash. And he's like, put these on your face.
Yeah, he like goes into the trash truck to get them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's still open, so it accidentally dumps all the trash out. And I love that the trash truck just keeps going, which I like to imagine that they saw it, but they're just like, I'm just going to pretend that I didn't until we get to the next stop, and then we can just like peel it up and they can deal with it tomorrow. Or I guess we'll deal with it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have that. Not up. Let's see. They realizing that Frank is not one of the aliens. This is how this sums up this whole section of the film, right? Nada retrieves the pair of sunglasses from the trash pile. Frank comes to give him his paycheck and orders him to stay away following the killing spree. Realizing that Frank is not one of the aliens, Nada places the glasses on Frank, who sees the aliens for himself and goes into hiding with Nada. That's it.
Why is Frank looking for him at this trash can? Like, how does Frank run into him in this alleyway by this trash can where neither of them have met each other previously? It's like, it makes zero sense.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of kismet, but I think it is also like on the way from the construction. He like walks that path from the construction site to the shanty town. You know what I mean? So assuming it's like on that, somewhere along that path, they could have like run into each other again. I think that's kind of the reason why they specifically make that whole moment of him following him silently into the shanty town, is to be like, when they run into each other again, it's because this is the only part of the, like, this stretch of road is the only stretch of road he's been on in town, you know? I think anyway. So anyway, they have that huge ass fight. If you've never seen it and you're listening to this, you're silly, but go watch that on YouTube. It's it's quite entertaining. It's very long. Like, it's purposefully too long. Like, I think that's part of the bit. Jeff did not seem to enjoy the joke, but I do. So you make the decision for yourself and tell us in the comments. Moving on. The two run into Gilbert, who introduces them to the human resistance to these aliens. They're given contact lenses to replace the sunglasses so they don't have to keep wearing their cool sunglasses. And they learn about aliens using global warming to make Earth's atmosphere similar to their home world while depleting its resources for their own gain. Did you catch it? It was global warming in there. I'm reading that off of Wikipedia and I'm surprised. I was like, I didn't catch that before.
Yeah, that doesn't
feel
like
sort
new
of makes
information.
sense, but yeah. So, you know, maybe they're using global warming. Otherwise, they're trying to convert the atmosphere into something similar to their home world while depleting our resources. They also learn that the aliens have been bribing human collaborators in exchange for wealth. Holly joins the meeting, bringing information about where the signal may be coming from because she works at the TV station that they think it might be pinpointed towards. Soon after, the meeting is raided by police, and the majority of those present are killed. The survivors are scattered, and at that point they have this like conversation where they're feeling outnumbered, where they were almost getting their shit together, and then the raid at the shanty town like threw them to the four corners of the world basically. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to regroup, but they're like way behind. Like they don't really know what to do, and then this meeting gets broken up too. So. Nada and Frank are cornered in an alley, but Frank activates an alien wristwatch, opening a portal to the alien spaceport on Earth under Cable 54, an alien-run news network.
Also, cue incredibly long gunfight scene in an alleyway. Like,
yeah. That was a pretty good one.
So long. It's very 80s in that like nobody aims a gun ever. It's all like nipple height, just like as much as you can down an alleyway. Nobody, like, at one point Nada shoots at someone on a roof just by like leaning back. Like sure. Nobody ever aims anything. It's just like, it looks very cool. It looks super cool, but it makes no sense. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, they teleport into this underground area and they start in like this tight kind of claustrophobic tunnel is what I'm trying to say. They start in that kind of claustrophobic tunnel, and then when they get to the meeting where the human elites are basically meeting to celebrate, the place is so huge. I love that effect. I think that was it's a nice easy bit of storytelling. The idea that they're like underground but in this place that's like 3 or 4 stories tall, this ballroom, you know, like that's a flex that you don't have to have if you're building underground structures, you know. So the fact that they can have that kind of thing is like, oh man, they're, you know, they mean business. It's, you know, a nice little fancy attaché, as it were. Let's see here. They come across a meeting of aliens and collaborators celebrating the defeat of the human resistance. They are approached by a drifter from the shantytown, now a collaborator, mistaking them for new recruits. Yeah, so this was some guy. This guy was in the shantytown, and now he's like a Tucker Carlson. He's like got the suit. He's like a dandy dude. He's making the money, and he's like, dudes, you sold out too. Welcome, my fellow sellouts. Congratulations. Yeah, so he gives them a tour of the facility, and that part I thought was silly, but silly in a fun way, where that guy was like, sure, I don't know, I'll show you around. I was like, that fucking guy has been here for like 2 minutes. Why would that guy be walking around like he owns the place?
Have the newest guy show the newest guys around.
Well, it's that thing where like that guy thinks he's in control because he's rich now, and it's that thing where like, you know what I mean? Like new money versus old money in a way. You know what I mean? Like you're never not going to be an idiot. If you grew up being a poor dummy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't change the core of him, you know. So I don't know. And especially if you're gonna get like tempted like that, like if you're not gonna see the long game and the moral implications, or if you can forgive that, you know, you're maybe not the most forward thinking person anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that probably means that you're not the most logical thinking person in a lot of situations too. But again, this is me walking to the movie as opposed to the movie walking to me. It's doing a lot of work on my side. But yeah, he leads them on a tour of the facility where the aliens broadcast a signal that prevents humans from identifying them and all of their spooky hidden messages. Roddy and Frank locate Holly, and they fight their way to the transmitter on the roof. But Holly herself is a collaborator responsible for the raid. She murders Frank. What did you think about that turn where she pulled the gun out and like basically like turned and shot Keith David in the head?
I mean,
did you see it coming?
Yeah, I hated that. That bitch never cared about anything. She showed up and she was like slightly more emotive than Roddy Piper throughout the whole movie. And like she always showed up right when like something bad was about to happen.
Man, this time I was obsessed with her eyes. That actress's name is Meg Foster. And she had like, I was like, she has villain eyes, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Where you're like, I don't know if I could ever trust her. It looks like she starred as Cagney in the first season of Cagney and Lacey, among other roles here. Like I don't know her from anything on here other than They Live. It says Ticket to Heaven. She was in a version of The Scarlet Letter, and then Cagney and Lacey. But yeah, man, I was sort of wrapped up in her eyes, so I could buy that Nada would be wrapped up in her eyes too. The idea that she like could throw him out a window and he's like, "You're back, babe."
Yeah, I was just mad that she killed the only person who was doing any acting in this stupid movie. I was like, not Keith David.
Mercifully, she does it at the very end, or towards the very end, at the very peak, so he gets to hang out for most of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she pulls that gun out and pops him in the head like it's nothing. Nada kills Holly and destroys the transmitter, but is mortally wounded by a police helicopter. Which when we were watching it, the fact that the police helicopter had to like turn around so the police officer could line up the shot. Erica was sitting next to me watching it, and she went, "What?" Like, the idea that they didn't have that shot lined up already was pretty funny. Yeah,
like a helicopter wouldn't need to turn around; it could just go. It could just pivot back the other way. So flip a bitch.
Yeah, it just like it gave him just enough time to do the destruction of the thing that he needed before getting shot by the police.
Yeah.
So the signal shuts down. He gives him the one last middle finger, and he dies. And all over the world, everybody can finally see all of the posters for what they are and these aliens. And then we end with that human woman that's on top of that alien, and she realizes that she's on top of that alien dude. And that dude is like, "What's wrong, baby?"
That part was pretty good.
Cut to black.
Yeah, that part was pretty good. John Carpenter, you win for that moment.
What did you think of the alien costume? Sort of the makeup and the whole effect. I guess most of the time when there was only one of them, it was like played by the same Asian like I think choreographer. I want to say he might have choreographed the fight scene too. But
the whole fight,
somebody different.
Yeah,
the whole.
Yeah, no, I thought at first I was like, are they
3.
skeletons? Are they bugs? Like, it kind of seemed like a mix of both. But I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, for sure. Especially considering the budget. I really like the aliens. I really like their eyes. The sort of there's a couple of times where they didn't work for me where I'm like, this reads a little Halloween costumey, but for the most part they had this like kind of sort of eerie light to them that I thought was really creepy. And it works, really super well for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Jeff. Thus ends a clean and tidy They Live. Okay. Well, you tell me, buddy. I think everybody should probably know if they've been paying attention. I think it's a worth watch. It's good stuff. If you want to learn a little bit about John Carpenter, you want to learn a little bit about professional wrestling, you want to learn a little bit about Reaganomics, you want to learn a little bit about magic sunglasses, this is where you're going to check out. But that being said, Jeff, worth watching, yay or nay? And if not, tell me why. Tell me help me come up with the rule that we can follow to know how to avoid this from ever happening, to keep this from ever happening again, I should say.
Yeah, definitely no. I think this movie is infinitely skippable. I think if you did not know about this movie's existence, your life would not be worse off in one increment of anything.
Tears.
It just was so boring to me. Like, the first hour of this movie is so boring, and it's a 90-minute movie. Like, I think, okay, so all films worth watching, movie rule. If I do this in books too, where it's like within the first 50 pages, if I don't know what we're doing, I put the book down. Like if I don't understand what's happening in this book in the first handful of chapters, I'm not going to just write it out. And I think in a movie that's 90 minutes long, if I don't know what we're doing in the first 20, 30 minutes, like if I don't understand where we're headed, what are you doing? That's a third of your runtime right there, where I don't understand what's happening other than blue jeans, feathered mullets, and downtown LA. What else is happening? So I think that would be the rule, is that you need to establish where we're going, because other than Rowdy Roddy Piper trying to get a job and being interested in this African Methodist Episcopalian church, I did not know what was happening until he finds those sunglasses, and then it's like, oh, bug people. I was like, that took so long. It took so long. And I was like, too much, John Carpenter. You asked me to hold on for too long. Also,
fair enough.
Also, like, I don't know. I think, there's bad movies that are good. Like movies like, okay, we acknowledge that this movie's not good, but we like it. And I wanted this to be that. I thought that's where we were going. I thought this was going to be like, oh, this is clearly like a crappy B movie, but it's charming, it's fun, and we like it. Something kind of like In the Mouth of Madness. I really like In the Mouth of Madness, but it's not like a great movie, right?
Sure. Okay.
And and I think some of it is just, it's mismatched. Like, you have Keith David, who I think is a good actor, next to Roddy Piper. And that's kind of the end of that thought. I was like, I don't know. I think kind of everybody has to be terrible, because when everybody's terrible, I don't know. It makes it, it's like when you go see a high school play, it's like nobody in high school drama is really like out there kicking ass. So you're like, okay, it's charming because they're all trying really hard. Right. But you have Roddy Piper, who's like, I'm here, and he like barely talks for a lot of this movie. Or at least, the first hour, with someone like Keith David, who's a good actor. And then like even Meg Foster shows up, and I was like, did they staple a mask to a 2x4? Like, is she going to say anything? Like, what's going to happen?
It's so harsh.
I know. I was like, man, where did he find these people? Like, he's either not directing them or leaving them to their own devices. I was like, no one in this movie is doing any acting besides the bug guy and Keith David. At least from like the main cast. It didn't vibe for me. I was like, man, I don't want to watch these people act anymore. Like, and then I was not familiar with the movie, so then it turned into like, for some reason in my head, I thought this was a vampire movie. And then when it turned into all the subliminal messaging and the bugs, I was like, what in the hell? For some reason, I was like, oh, this is a vampire movie. Wrong. So wrong. That didn't make it worse for me, but I was like, oh, okay, I have to like readjust my expectation.
Yeah, it's so funny. This is where the the Obey thing, that graffiti artist who uses that picture of Andre the Giant and the Obey text. He just like literally took the text from this movie. Like every now and then you hear John Carpenter in interviews bitch about how that guy owes him a ton of money.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. It's like stylistically cool movie. It just, I think as a story is just for me, or at least the production of it. I was like, they're not selling me on this story. So I don't know.
Fair enough. Well, mixed opinions here at All Films Worth Watching. You got to let us know, is They Live worth watching? Is it skippable? How right or wrong are Jeff and I? Let us know in the comments. Start a huge fight. Don't be racist, but
it's like, don't be racist. Mean. But
yeah,
which is funny because it's like, it's just interesting when directors clearly have such a varied output.
Mm-hmm.
Because like The Thing is like genuinely a good movie. Like as far as like good movies go, it's a good movie. It feels feels low budge because it's like 81 or 82 or something like that. And I'm sure it was low budge, but it just is a good movie.
They Live is one of the hugest budgets that he, or excuse me, not They Live. They Live is super low budge. Is that what you just said? Sorry.
I think I was talking about The Thing.
Was that? Yeah, The Thing. The Thing is one of his highest budget films.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like his big. I mean, they shot it in like temperature controlled environments where they like brought down the temperature so you could see everybody's breath.
Gotcha.
And all the costumes are real, and he was able to hire Enrico Morricone, I think, is the composer for that one. And then it flopped. And so he wasn't able at the time anyway. It was a total bomb.
Right.
I think it was going up against E.T. I think
everything tanked against
that could be wrong. Yeah, exactly. But like compare the two. Like, you want to go watch this grim, nihilistic alien movie, or do you want to go watch little E.T. learn how to waddle around and learn how to love?
Right.
Like, you're probably gonna go towards E.T. It's gonna be the easier source, the easier choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then They Live. At the time he was doing They Live, he had a deal with, I don't remember which company, but essentially he got carte blanche to do whatever he wanted if he could keep the budget within a certain amount. So They Live is made for $9 million, and so he had all the control on it.
Interesting.
And there's a string of movies he has where he's in that situation. But in general, other than They Live, anytime he gets a big budget, those movies are so much more painful than this. Like, if you thought this was bad, Escape from L.A., it has a huge budget, and it is always miserable.
Yeah, you showed me.
It's bad.
You showed me clips of that one.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I showed you the
terrible
the CG surfing scene, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Some pretty gnarly stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, just in general, he seemed to do better when he was having to be scrappy and hungry. You know what I mean? Like, it seemed to work. The output worked better.
That makes sense.
In my humble opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, that tracks. I think this is just one where it didn't work for me. I don't think less of John Carpenter for this movie, but I will selectively remove it from his filmography in my brain.
Sure. Fair enough. All right, Jeff, I think I'm ready to close the tome for you for They Live for Forever. You can forget it ever existed if you'd like.
They lived.
They lived. We slept. We're just going to go back to bed. We're at the end of the show. I think the only thing we have left to do is suggestions. I have a couple this week. Some interesting stuff. I had you in mind because I was coming in with, They Live, Jeff on the brain.
I'm ready.
You might have heard of this. Like, I recently picked up Netflix again, so I've been un-Netflixed for a while. Have you seen a show called the Decameron on Netflix?
Nope.
Not familiar to you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so you should definitely check this out. It's like a limited series, like one season. It's a 2024 thing. It's based on this old text that are essentially like 100 short stories that are framed as like rich people hanging out in a villa and avoiding the Black Plague and are telling stories to keep each other entertained. They're like a private villa outside of let me look exactly where the deal is. Sorry, give me just a second. The Decameron, yeah. So it's a 14th century collection of 100 short stories by this Italian writer. And they're structured as a frame. The book is structured as like a frame story told by a group of 7 young women and 3 young men that are sheltering in a secluded villa just outside of Florence, in order to escape the Black Death.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so the Decameron is like an adaptation of this story. It's a Netflix adaptation that's got some really great comedians in it, and it's sort of like a class structure thing between servants and peasants and the the upper class. Like one of the first inciting incidents is that there's this this servant helping her lord or her lady, I say, leave excuse me, where was it, Florence? Yeah, leaving Florence to go get here, and she's being treated so awfully that she pushes her off of a bridge, pushes the lady off of a bridge, and then like assumes her identity. And so for a bunch of it, she's like, trying to fit in. Like that's a big deal. And there's like a lord that has a bunch of degrees or has been studying all his life, but is like an inbred idiot that is sort of like making a lot of the decisions at the villa. And there's a bunch of stuff going on. It's really, 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 really funny. And and Black Plague E. And I thought that you might enjoy that. The other suggestion is this band that I was suggested. It was suggested to by Bob. His name Bob Byrne, the guy who runs the Legions of Metal Festival.
Byrne, yeah.
Bob Byrne, yeah. I showed him. I have this new EP that Jeff helped me work on called Blood in the Code, unless I come up with a better title in the next couple of weeks, that we're going to put out pretty soon. And I've been sharing it with people. I shared it with Bob, and he very politely told me that he did not like it, but it did remind him of this band that he does like called Winds, like a 90s band called Winds. Does that ring any bells for you?
No.
Yeah, like multiple woodwinds. You should check them out. They're like this prog band that were, I want to say, Danish heavy metal guys, and it's this prog band that has like strings and pianos, and it has this like neoclassical kind of chamber orchestra vibe to it with clean vocals over the top, but like really kind of aggressive, and it is progressive, but like not in a way that calls attention to itself, which is kind of like what turns me off for most prog metal. Yeah, and it has these like string sections and these like string quartet and like classical piano sections that make it feel really like neoclassical. Yeah, it's really worth checking out. So okay. I would highly suggest you do that as well. I'd love to hear specifically your thoughts on it, because I don't know, it got me going. It started giving me all sorts of ideas listening to this album by this band. Yeah, Norwegian progressive neoclassical metal band Winds. They formed in '98.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Yep, cool. Those are my suggestions. What about you, my good friend?
I've been so media averse the last month, just because I've been doing tour stuff.
Well, why don't you talk a little bit about the new Wield and Woe album? Just like, you don't have to talk a ton about it, but you've been working your butt off on it. For anybody that happens to not know what that is, maybe, I don't know, you want to do an elevator pitch?
Sure. Yeah. So Wield and Woe is basically medieval blackened folk metal, but we've termed it castle metal because there are aesthetic and stylistic differences between castle metal and medieval black metal, which could be its own TED Talk. But essentially think like aggressive tavern music from the Middle Ages, but metal. And so our third album, Far From the Light of Heaven, came out on the 4th of July. So we just did a 2-week tour about that. It's been getting some press. We were in Decibel. I did a Bandcamp interview. There was a bunch of stuff. So like there's a bunch of reviews and stuff about it you can find. And the basic premise of the majority of Wield and Woe's material is this existential problem I have where I don't know if I'm living a good life. I don't know if I'm making the right choices. And, you only get to make them once. Like, this is my only shot. Am I doing the right thing with my only shot? And I struggle with that because nobody knows the answer to any of those questions. Like, is anyone going to remember me when I'm gone? Am I am I being honorable? Am I living a good life? Am I wasting the opportunities given to me by being a 35-year-old man trying to make a living playing the guitar? Like, clearly not, because other people have done it before me, but sorry for that noise. It just has a lot of existential, what am I doing? Why am I here? Am I doing a good job of it? Does any of this actually matter? So none of the, I guess, lyrical or, I guess, contextual things of the album or the thematic whatever, none of it's like medieval specifically. I just dress it up in medieval aesthetics and make it sound cool. So I think it's funny that you brought up the Black Death thing, because that's very much up my alley.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's the album. It's not necessarily feel good music, but it does sound nice.
Yeah, if you're not a metalhead, if the idea of like black and folk metal, I don't know, scares you off or anything, just know it's like if you're into heavy metal, this is a really melodic take on pretty aggressive metal. Has dirty vocals, but they're, I don't know. Some stuff is like really trying to sound gross, and that's not what Jeff's trying to do. You know,
opposite.
Like you're chasing, kind of chasing beauty. So they're really pretty recordings and definitely worth checking out. Yeah. Okay, Jeff, I think that wraps it up. Do you happen to know what you want us to watch next month? Let all of our thousands and thousands of fans that are waiting on bated breath know.
I haven't added anything to the list in a bit, but let me pull up the list real quick.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't added anything to the list either. And feel free to riff something off outside of the list, excuse me. So, like, I don't know, dude. You were mentioning, I think when we talked about some of your formative movies, you mentioned Excalibur. That might be fun. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it. Like, I could learn a little bit about like what makes you tick, you know, or whatever you want to do.
Let's do Excalibur.
Okay, Excalibur it is.
I think Excalibur.
You're here, folks. Cool. Well, I look forward to finding out for myself what we think of Excalibur. That is coming in September, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for listening. I am Thomas. This is Jeff. This has been All Films Worth Watching. We've kicked ass. We've chewed bubblegum. They live, and now we're going to go to sleep.
Bye.